Hey guys, so I thought I would actually try recording my voiceover just as a way to provide a little bit more context and commentary over what I'm doing in this video. So it's been a long time since I've used the rings, but I thought I would return to them and kind of see how my general calisthenics strength has carried over, and I was pretty excited with the results. So here I'm just doing some warm-up variations that I found in Matt Fury's Primate Power book. Unfortunately, that's pretty hard to do, pretty hard to find that book. And so instead, I just like to demo some of the exercises because I think they're pretty interesting. I really like this cliffhanger grip. It's just very different from anything I've experienced before or since. And you can see here that I'm using a weight belt, essentially as a form of foot support that's strong enough to make sure that it doesn't just break. So here now I'm just doing rings rollouts, kind of the typical forward motion. And then I like to do some other variations as well that you'll see in a second. So the one arm is really great as an additional stability challenge without needing to add weight. And then here I'm doing a side variation, which is very, oblique focus and is pretty excellent. And then I even like to do a little bit of a rear rollout, which I'll show here in a second, once I get the other side for the side rollout. So again, you're just focusing on maintaining a shape. The rear rollout I think would probably be more efficient if I were to have better shoulder mobility. And then here we're doing essentially going from flexion to extension. So this is pretty similar to basically the flexion rolls you see that Renaissance periodization sometimes does. It's really just focusing on the spinal erectors. Here I'm doing a variation of rows done by TacFit. I believe they just call them rings rows, but I'm calling them tactical rolls just to differentiate them. So it's essentially a normal row, just with a little bit of a flexion and isometric at the end. Here's gliding ham curls. These are best done with feet elevated, and it's essentially just a hamstring motion. So there are still a few leg exercises you can do with the rings, mostly hamstring focused though. Here's this from the other side. You can really play with the positioning, and again, it's just about pulling as much as possible with your hamstrings. So here I'm going to another variant of the tactical row. It's similar to a cliffhanger grip. I like this one a lot. It's really important once you get to the top to kind of sit back with your hips. And here is one that is not from the TacFit exercise selection, but is something I kind of rigged up myself. The reason I'm doing the curl at the top is because otherwise I'm not really getting that secondary elbow flexion motion similar to the other tactical row variants. So this one felt pretty good. Here I'm attempting a rings lawnmower by TacFit, and I have not really figured out the foot positioning. There's some sort of pivot involved so that it's much more of a seamless motion, but obviously here I'm not doing that very efficiently. All right. Then here I'm just doing another rings variant. I can't remember where I even saw these, but essentially what you're doing is pulling to the side and kind of rotating and reaching. Here, I don't remember what TacFit calls these, but I'm just calling them kind of a close grip push-up because that's the closest to what they feel like. It feels a little bit like a diamond, but with more freedom of movement. And then this is just to train the false grip because that's the weakest point of my muscle up attempts is my false grip. And so those are kind of a curl variant, and then the row variant I found was the most effective for imitating that motion. Here we're doing rings feet to bar. These are excellent for upper back. There's a little bit of a core component, but it's essentially kind of similar to an inverted deadlift. This is another TacFit movement I was trying out. I think they have their feet elevated, and I would definitely say not to do this on the ground like I'm trying. It feels good as like a warm-up, but it's really just so easy that it's not worthwhile as an exercise. These are Duranda chest flies. The main difference is the placement, the position of your hands. And then here I'm doing some push-up variants. Again, I haven't done ring training in a long time, so I'm really just experimenting with a few different things to see how they feel on my chest and shoulders. I was pleasantly surprised to find that I still had a lot of ring strength, which shows that, general calisthenics training can still help. And here is probably the most interesting of the exercises. It's called the rings cradle, again from TacFit. This is just an awesome combination of kind of halfway between a bridge and a back lever. And I found it was a really great challenge. That was just a windshield wiper attempt. I'm kind of barely strong enough. Trying out some bent leg dips. Those felt fine. And here I'm just doing some arm isolation. So I'm doing the normal tricep extensions. And then I'm doing, I forgot what these are called, but essentially you're flaying your elbows out and bringing them straight up instead of forward. So it's a slightly different motion. And then this is me kind of trying to, almost like a, I don't know, JM press maybe. Sometimes I forget to name these things. This is just a one ring variant of the overhead extension, which is just nice if you want a little bit of a different grip. And then this is focused on the medial head of the triceps. This is similar to a Vince Gironda exercise. So you can see that my wrists were facing away. Here is the full reach of the row, so you can see the difference there. First one's just me kind of practicing the motion. So you're pulling all the way from one side to the other. So you're kind of getting your mid-back involved in a very different way. Feels pretty good. This is just me stretching. It's also a nice stretch on the side of your body. I don't really know what this was that I was going for, but I don't think it worked. I think this is just me sort of stretching and kind of playing around with different leverages, seeing how they feel. And then sort of trying some horizontal shrugs. A lot of this is just experimentation, so not all these exercises are really effective. Here I'm trying a variant of basically a drag curl. So I'm trying to keep my elbows back and really just focus on the biceps. And then here I figured out that kind of the full motion there. So it's really a two-part motion to get as close to a barbell drag curl as possible. But these feel pretty good. And then here are just some standard curls, which you can see the difference now is the elbows are further ahead of the body the entire time, and it's one continuous motion. This is just some attempts at swings. I'm still kind of halfway attempting the muscle ups, but they are no longer my sole priority. I'm really just trying to get more technical in general.